sir. Thank you so much for joining us here on this platform.
Good morning, Shelby. How are you?
Good, sir. Thank you so much for asking. So, you have experience in corporate as well as the education sector for more than 25 years. What are the key takeaways from your experience that you would like to share with our viewers?
When you come with an experience from the industry into the classroom, you actually are able to carry a whole lot of insights from the workplace, right? Management education is not just about theory and then concepts. What is more important from a student's learning perspective is help them to visualize, because when you look at the Indian B school classroom, it's a fair amount of mix of both the freshers and experienced, right? So for the students, especially those who come into a classroom without work ex, it's important for them to help them to visualize and then interpret as to how things operate, right? And as far as the students who are from the workplace, they would have seen one or two contexts, right? So it's also important for them to look at as to how things can happen in other contexts as well, right? So from the perspective of both the student categories of students, that's with respect to the students without experience and with experience, bringing this live classroom experience, makes it a lot more insightful, right? And then while the case studies are all there, right? But then when I try to bring my own personal live experiences, it's far more interesting.
So, being the chair placement PGDM of full time, what are the roles and responsibilities you have towards the students and the institute?
See, being a placement chair of a B school, has its own charm and challenges. It's a mix of both. But I love the responsibilities. I love the challenges as well, right? At GIM, the way we operate, we give a fair amount of empowerment to our students. That's the place call, right? But having said that, students are young, so they need to be coached and be mentored. So my role as a placement chair is to anchor their learning process, because as place formers, they not only learn but they deliver. They do both the things at the same time. So it's my responsibility to help them to understand as to why is it important for them to have a structured and a strategic approach, right? Typically, when you look at youngsters, they believe in getting into action, but then that's not going to help, especially when you look at dealing with facilitating careers for a large group of students, especially from a tenured and one of the top tier B schools like GIM, right? So I actually help them to understand why is it important to have a strategy, because when the previous place formers move out, while they do a hand holding, but since I've been a placement chair for a couple of years, I try to bring my experiences from the previous batches and then help them to give insights, right? Point number one. Second thing is, I believe in continuous industry scanning, right? And I'm an active blogger as well on LinkedIn. So what happens is, it's this kind of a perspective that I bring in of having an environment knowledge, across industries, across brands, right? So when I actually facilitate a brainstorming process around the strategy design for the students, I try to tell them which are the sectors that they need to focus upon, which are the specific brands that they look at, how does a particular brand align with the talent which is available in the GIM campus. Because today, when you look at the placements, unlike in the past, brands are very, very focused on what kind of talent needs to be looked at, what kind of talent to be hired. There's a kind of cultural fitment, right? So those are certain dimensions which I try to provide them with regard to the strategy. Then I'm trying to coach them and keep their motivation levels throughout the year, because sometimes they might be feeling on the top of the world when they get a good brand, but it's not always when you actually get the first time success. So keeping their tempo and morale up, and then helping them to discover new horizons and new hopes, right? And it's a kind of a very interesting journey for me as a placement chair. And more importantly, apart from leading the PlaceCom, I also have the responsibility of guiding the batch at large. right? So helping them to understand. So especially I begin my association with the batch as a part of their introduction or orientation for the PGP ones. So once they step in, right, I set the right tone and tenor for them and help them to understand as to how they should plan their 2-year career journey and learning journey at GIM. Because setting the right context, providing them the vision and then the journey roadmap holds the key for the students to plan for their 2-year journey, right? And then of course there are other things like how do we groom the PGP ones for the summers, how do we groom the PGP twos for the finals, right? How do we actually help students during the summers? A lot of students reach out to me during their summers. While I may not be a mentor, because typically every faculty tends to mentor personally 1:7 ratio, but being a placement chair and then as a faculty of HR and a senior HR professional, a lot of students tend to reach out to me on queries and challenges, especially with big brands which have a PPA and PPO attached. So on the whole, it's a mix of everything. It's very comprehensive and holistic role.
So in your experience, how has the demand for a management trainee evolved over the past few years?
Okay, that's an interesting question, Shelby. Management trainee has evolved at the same time remained constant. Let me tell you first of all what has been constant, what has evolved, right? Right from my generation, I started my career as a management trainee, right? So when an organization tries to hire a set of management trainees and youngsters, they want to bring in energy, they want to infuse ideas, right? And they want to bring in change, right? These three things are common, right, across generations, both in my generation, the subsequent, and even for the current set of youngsters. And apart from these common things, the specifics which vary in, right, based on the generation that they belong to. Today's generation is supposed to be far more tech savvy and tech skilled. They are supposed to be, equipped with skills and insights as to how to leverage their technical skills to the business context of the organization. Point number one. Point number two, the pace of work and then the dynamism and the complexity of work has evolved. So as a result, today's management trainee are supposed to be comfortable with ambiguity, right? A lot of stuff is changing. By the time you decide your strategy, the environment would have already changed. So how do you cope up with that kind of an agile environment? How do you remain agile and still be able to add value to the brands that you join up as management trainee? That's an interesting facet for all the B School grads who end up joining as management trainees.
So, given your wide experience in the HR domain, how would you describe the right set of skills a management student should be equipped with?
Okay. When you look at the skill sets, let me first talk about the expectations of the industry and then do a mapping of those expectations vis-a-vis the skill sets with the talent in the B School campuses. Industry expects management students to come with confidence, competence, and then collaborative skills. Right? So, having said this, every B School student, the first thing that they need to focus upon is building a sense of self-confidence. Try to do a kind of a SWOT analysis, discover their strengths, discover their areas of opportunities, keep working on those areas of opportunities through the 2-year journey so that when they step out, they're confident in a complete form, especially on the soft skills form part of it, and then the team leading and the leadership skills. Those are the elements that I'm talking about. Plus, when we talk about competences, depending on the career aspirations that the students have, they should also be able to identify very early in the B School campuses as to what their career aspirations are, and then try to identify the knowledge, skill which are mandatory and try to go beyond the curricular learning. What I meant by that is every B school has a very structured and extensive curriculum, but then the industry always has its own expectations. So in that sense, there's a kind of a gap between what you're taught in the campus vis-a-vis what kind of jobs that you're aspiring in. So if you're a smart B school grad, you should be able to identify what is that gap and then make a self-effort and a self-initiative to pick it up, right? And what do I mean by picking it up? It could be in the form of live projects, it could be in the form of mini projects, right? Or it could be in the form of skill certifications, right? So one will have to demonstrate that he or she has done thorough research, right? And try to pick up these things and then demonstrate the value add not just on the CV, but then be able to articulate that to the recruiter. And more importantly, once they transition into the industry, they should be able to add value to the brands with these elements. Yeah.
So the campus placement trends in top B schools are changing. According to you, what impact has COVID-19 had on placements in Indian B schools? And what does the placement scenario post-coronavirus looks like?
Absolutely. Corona, in fact, as we say, earlier we used to say before Christ and after Christ in the old era. Now we'll have to say before Corona and post-Corona, right? That's how this generation will have to refer to their lives, and most of the world would also be referring to world in that format. Now, a couple of interesting facets have actually happened both in the world in general and workplace in particular, right? Technology, which was just a kind of overheard kind of stuff, has now become an integral part of it. Our generations, we've actually worked with global teams way back in early 2000, but percentage of talent which worked in the virtual teams and global teams and digital platforms was less. But today, when you look at it, 90 to 95% of the talent or employee bases are expected to be digitally convenient and savvy, which means be able to work digitally and yet add value without any kind of a gap. Point number one. Second thing, when you look at it, when you try to work in a digital environment, the first and fundamental challenge that you face as a professional, especially for the B school grads, is how do you strike a relationship? How do you nurture productive and positive workplace relationships, both within and external stakeholders? Point number one. The second element part of it is data-driven text analytics and data. All the three, digital text, digital analytics, and application and interpretation, these have become very, very critical. Unlike in the past, you look at organizations across any sector, be it e-commerce or IT or retail or banking. Today, every organization, if it has to survive and thrive, digital technologies and digital workplace is a must. Right? So from that sense, B school grads, for them, it's a kind of a God's given opportunity because they got used to way of learning, way of working with teams within the campus. So they've been baptized to the digital climate very early in the campus. So that gives them a kind of a headwind, right? Kind of a heads up or a kind of an advantage over the rest of the crowd. So I would say this set of a batch, both the PGP 1s and 2s who are there in campuses, will have the experience which no other batches would have in future. Right? However, having said that, even for the subsequent batches, right, the way when you look at the world, India Incorporation or world over, when you talk to business leaders, they are looking at moving at least 30 to 40% of the workforce trying to work at least substantial part of the time, around 30 to 40% of their work contributions to come in from digitally, right? For multiple reasons. They could range in from climatic reasons like green contribution, because if you allow your employees to work from home, they wouldn't be traveling and adding up to the traffic chaos, would not be burning the fossil fuels, right? So that's going to be one way of organizations adding carbon footprint. Now, when they look at an employee perspective, an employee will be able to strike a work-life balance much better, especially when you look at the context of these days where nuclear families are a way of life. Especially for young professionals, you have to deal with your young children at home without any kind of a support. Or if you are a kind of a single parent, then that's a different kind of a dimension. So working at home gives you that comfort. Or if you have aged dependents, that also gives you a whole lot of comfort of being there around with them and also pursue your career and life aspirations.
So there are three elements that are consistent with every company at the moment. Every business is inducting more technology, building a new level of efficiency in operations, and a completely new cost model. What developments in Raw Institute of Management are bringing in its approach of making the students industry ready?
Yeah, very interesting question, shall we? Okay, at GIM we have taken a whole lot of initiatives, right? Ever since the onset of the corona, right? So to begin with, right, during the summer, especially for the PGP ones, we said that because we could actually sense that not all the students who actually back their internships would end up doing the summer internship, or there could be disruption or delays, right? So the first thing that we've done is we've tried to create a kind of a desk projects under the guidance of the faculty. Now, most of these desk projects were very, very contemporary projects in the areas of digital technologies, AI, ML, and so on and so forth across functions, right? So we've actually helped them to understand and learn not just the technologies part of it, but then also do a comprehensive job in the form of a desk project, point number one. Point number two that we've done in terms of preparing and skilling them up, we'd actually funded their certifications on emerging areas, on the new technology areas, right? We've told them to look at multiple edutech learning service providers and told them to pick up the certification which is linked to their maybe summer internship or linked to their career aspirations. So that's the second thing that we've done. The third part of it that we've done from the PlaceCom side, we've actually created a new form of interaction with the industry called as Bridge the Gap. So what we've done is we've identified a whole set of industry leaders across sectors, across brands, and brought them in the form of webinars to interact with the students. And what we've done is at GIM, we just don't believe in being selfish to hold back the knowledge for ourselves, but we made these webinars open to everyone who wants to be a part of that. Right? So we've just not only shared the knowledge and skills with our own student community, but we made that learning opportunity open to the external world as well. Right? And in addition to that, all of us as faculty, when we are teaching to our students, either in PGP 1 or PGP 2, in the context of courses that we are now teaching it, we are bringing in both the technology and then the corona impact, right? Especially when you have a kind of a contingency like this, which is unexpected. What has been the experiences and the journeys of various brands and organizations across sectors, across geographies, has been brought into classroom so that people have an in-depth view of how to deal with a crisis like this, because this is going to be a kind of a learning context, and it has created a whole lot of case studies and learning contexts, right, which we wouldn't want to miss. So a whole lot of faculty have actually written their case studies on them, right? Those case studies have been brought into classroom for learning facilitation, right? And we are continuing this learning journey of leadership series even through the entire year, so that students get a continuous learning and view of how to deal with corona, especially leveraging the digital technologies. Yeah.
In the past decade, even though the male-female gaps in educational attainment have narrowed considerably, gaps in labor force participation have widened. Will the already widening gender gap in work participation and employment widen further due to the lockdown and recession? Please enlighten our viewers with your thoughts.
Shall we, when you look at it, thanks to the environment and the initiatives taken by successive government, and especially with the current government at the helm, there's a lot of focus on girl empowerment, women education, and women empowerment, right? So when we talk about it, that's on one side. Then when you look at the corporate context as well, diversity has become a key, not just a kind of a showcasing phenomena, but a core area of focus and core strategic perspective or idea or a target for most of the corporate world. As a result, they are continuously looking for talent diversity, which means they will have to continuously look at women, especially coming into the workforce. Now, when you look at the gender-wise enrollment across B schools over the last 1 decade, you will see a significant trend, right, of number of girls or women enrolling into B school is going up, right? And similarly, when you look at the enrollments as well, even at the undergrad, right, and even at the school level, the number of girls who are getting enrolled and completing the courses have gone up, which means women and girls are getting educated and skilled. That's point number one. Point number two, given the context of a digital work environment and flexible work environment that post-corona world offers, it's actually a win-win for women, because one of the key challenges that Indian women face is trying to balance between personal and professional life, right? Unfortunately, they tend to shoulder a whole lot of responsibility compared to the guys, so they end up sacrificing the careers. But not anymore, because in the post-corona world, right, they can very well continue to explore and contribute and realize their career dreams both in personal and professional spaces.
Now, any suggestions you would like to give our viewers?
Okay, now if I want to talk about aspiring B school students, I would ask them to start preparing very well in advance. Try to look at what their career focus area is and what their career aspiration is, and then start deciding to prepare well, because a B school preparation is just not a crash course of about 2 months or 3 months. It takes at least a year and a half. So plan well, prepare well in advance comprehensively, because the competition out there is so very high, right? If you want to get your berth in a very good kind of a brand and a B school in Indian market, that's the first thing till you get in. But I'll tell you, the real challenge and the fight actually starts after you onboard yourself into a B school, right? In the entire 2-year journey, while it's good to have your fun, it's more important to stay focused. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get pressurized. It's easy to get frustrated. Believe me, the stress and the kind of pressure that a student goes through in the 2-year learning is something that we as faculty, we try to minimize, but then we are also constrained, because we are equally aspirational to make sure that our students pick up the right amount of knowledge and skill, and that's one element of focus for us. The second element of focus for us is to help them get used to working on multiple projects under tight timelines and get used to workplace pressures, right? So that is something that the students will have to look at when they are in the B school campus. And for the students who are actually graduating or for the first 3 to 5 years, it's important for them to stay focused. It's easy to get distracted, right, and keep shuttling between jobs or hopping between jobs just for a few lakhs. But believe me, it tends to come back and hurt them at a later stage when they are aspiring to become leaders at a senior position. So staying stable, staying focused throughout, either in the preschool, pre-B school prep, during the B school, and even the post the graduation as well, is something that viewers will have to stay focused on. One key thing that I want to lay emphasis upon is continuous learning is one thing. But when you are into continuous learning, you need to have an element of focus as well. While you can do a broad amount of learning, you should also be very, very clear as to what is your focus area with regard to personal aspirations and career aspirations, and make sure that one dedicates definite amount of time from his 24-hour schedule every day, right? That kind of a focus on continuous learning will help to one to emerge as a winner, both on personal front of realizing their personal aspirations and career aspirations as well, and having a satisfied and fulfilling life. That's it from my side.
That was a very insightful message, sir. Thank you so much for your time here on this platform with us.
Thank you, Shalvi. It was a pleasure to connect with you.